Hey, fellow Ham Geeks, welcome to HamBrief episode 72. My name is Chris Matthew, N7ICE, and I'm the founder of 73s. I have an awesome show to bring you today. Arthur White, N4TRQ, had a historic tweet this week. He was able to send an APRS message through the International Space Station to 73s and then relayed to Twitter. So in essence, he sent a tweet from his ham radio through the ISS. Pretty amazing. So definitely a first. I think it's a world record historic event. And I interviewed him. So here he is. Hey, so we're with Arthur White, N4TRQ, on the HamBrief to talk about his recent tweet I saw about tweeting through the International Space Station and 73s to Twitter. So, hey Arthur, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Chris. How about yourself?
Very good, thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your call sign, and kind of how long you've been a ham radio operator, just a little bit of background.
I've been a ham since about '84, so I've been doing this quite a while. And the N4TRQ call has been the same call I've had from day one. So I'm a Technician Plus, so I'm one of the grandfathered into the new one. So as far as, so I did take the code back when it had to still take code, so never upgraded yet. That's still on my to-do list to get beyond that, but I haven't got there yet. So, but the APRS interest kind of happened back around, I guess, early 2000, 2001 time frame. And I met this ham, Daryl Sutton, I had raised calls, I wish I would say it right, KF4HJW. And he was the chairman of the Eastern Virginia APRS group. And I can't remember where I met him. I don't know if it was at Frost Fest or the local Ham Fest, but I know I bumped into him and got talking about APRS, and that just kind of struck a chord. Hey, that sounds cool. So that's kind of how I got started in APRS, and it's just been, doing it, ever since. I mean, I do that more than voice, so it's like I'm always running APRS wherever I go. So, and then with the latest tools and toys and everything, I've just been able to take it to further levels there and just really use it more on the day-to-day thing. So you'll definitely see me APRS here, APRS there, APRS there. So.
Yeah, I love watching your 73 status updates, your Twitter tweets, because you're right. You're checking in to like Foursquare locations via APRS. You're updating 73 status updates like throughout the day, and those are linked to your Twitter account and maybe even your Facebook. I'm not sure, but you're the AP. I don't think anyone has taken APRS as far as you have. So I mean that's what's cool to watch what you do with it.
So yeah, I just love APRS, and I just love the cool things you can do with it, and I'd like to do more with it. Just haven't got there yet, but it's on my to-do list.
So that's awesome. I love watching you. So what type of rig, radio, what's your APRS setup look like?
I have a Kenwood D7 HT, which I use in the full-time job work truck. I have that up to a 30-watt amp, and then onto a glass mount antenna, which is an out-of-band glass mount antenna, but it works. So, and then on the part-time job vehicle, I use the D700, and I run that about 10 watts into a tri-band antenna because I'm using it to a cigarette lighter, so I don't want to push too much power to the cigarette lighter plug. So that's pretty much that, and my kind of pseudo APRS is I have my latitude synced with as a web object on APRS.fi. So I got my BlackBerry tag with a APRS tag on it too. So if I'm not running on HT, I'm on the BlackBerry. So.
And then I think on 73s you have your APRS linked to your profile too, right?
Yes.
So we can watch you. We can live through you on APRS.
Yes.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about this tweet. This tweet I saw. It said. Well, when was it? It was February 23rd, 2012, and you said, "Good afternoon, 73s via ISS on 80-degree pass via APRS." So that was a tweet I saw, and then I went, "Holy cow!" So I looked into 73s, and there was the status update. So it relayed. So you sent an APRS message to 73s, and 73s relayed it to Twitter. But the interesting thing that caught my eye is the via ISS on an 80-degree pass. Tell me how you did that.
Basically, also along with APRS, I'm also interested in the satellites, which I really haven't worked too much satellites, but I follow a lot of the SIGs, and I still kept seeing talking about APRS and ISS, and said, I wonder. So I went to the into y0.com website, the satellite tracking website, and looked up the ISS passes, and it just happened to be one, a couple hours off when I checked. I said, okay, so I went out in the parking lot at work with my HT, just strictly rubber ducky, and I said, well, if I can hit it like this, then we can work from there. So I was actually standing in the parking lot at work, walking around with my HT, and all of a sudden I heard the first brap come across it. It came across. It hit my HT, so I was like, okay, now I had to take it from there. So. And then I did a little research to find out what the pass needed to be set up to properly work the ISS, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So, and then then I got to where I would go to my blog and put like a weekly thing of all the current passes I'm going to try to work, time permitting and everything. And so, and I would just work the ISS, as it happened, and go send a message to 73s. Kind of was my confirmations. I got a message through. I would see that my message or beacon got digi, but I just wanted that confirmation on the other side to say, yes, it actually went all the way through, And there's also a findyou.com site that you can go to, and it shows stations heard by the ISS. So you can just go down there. So I go down there. There I am. Okay, cool. I got through, And but like I said, that's just kind of added to the APR's fun now. So I was like, okay, another bug. So
just so I understand, our listeners understand, it sounds like you sent an APRS message through the International Space Station, like a repeater.
Yes.
To 73s, and then 73s tweeted that message under your profile for you.
Yes.
So in essence, you tweeted, you sent a tweet with a ham radio through the space station to Twitter.
Yes. Yep.
So, that is like the ultimate geekery that I have ever seen. So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this the first tweet from outer space or from space?" And I researched and I found like there were astronauts on the ISS that had sent the first tweets through the space station. But I started digging a little bit more, and you're definitely the first person with a ham radio to tweet through space. So that's pretty interesting, and I think you're the first person to relay a message to Twitter from the ground through the ISS
back down.
So I'm still digging through logs, but as far as I could tell, you're the first person to do that. And you said that this tweet I just saw last week isn't your first time doing that.
No, I've done it several times before on this site and also on the .org site. I've done several messages through there too, and I've also successfully made a one-line blog post via the ISS via APRS. So, because I've got my blog set up to where I can do blog updates via APRS, and I said I wonder if I can do it. So I just had to try. First attempt failed. But the second attempt, I was able to get just a single line, blog post, and it's posted to my blog that I sent via ISS, and I was like, excellent,
So you've done a tweet through the ISS, you've done a blog post through the ISS. What next? I mean you blew my mind with the tweet, and now you blew it again with the blog post. That's pretty amazing. So I see you do all sorts of things. I see you do like Foursquare check-ins via APRS.
Yes.
How do you do that?
That's actually, I can't take credit for that. That's actually the help of the APRS, the Twitter script, written by Leroy KD8DXP.
Yep, I love Leroy.
That's his script that I'm using, and that's how the Foursquare updates are done by Twitter. At the wrong locations at time, but hey, it works. So it's kind of one of those things you got to, you roll with. But yeah, it uses my. I have a link to both the mobile and HT, the latitude, Instant Mapper. So it uses all those 4 sources to use that to check me in if I'm in, close proximity to a Foursquare venue. So, but yep, so that's how I, use that too. And that also, that's the one that's to do the Foursquare updates, and of course, to get the weather based on where I'm at too. So that's all those little things, but that's all through that script that Leroy written. So that, when he wrote that, and I got on board with that, I was like, excellent. I do play with here, so,
Yeah, he is doing some amazing stuff from a programming perspective with APRS too, and it's so cool to see you take advantage of all these technologies and get out there, promote the hobby. And I've seen a lot of hams on Twitter, new hams, people interested in ham radio because they've seen really cool tweets like this. So thank you for all of that promotion you're doing on Twitter. That's you're helping build the hobby, which is really, really cool.
I've got a few tweets on there that said, how are you doing that? How are you tweeting APRS today? So, I referred them to the APRS Twitter script and said, this is how it's being done, so that definitely gets people's attention. It's like, how are you doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the blog post, how'd you do that?
That was, how I got that set up, and it was a little tricky getting it to work initially, but once I got it set up, and then basically I go through WinLink, and I bounce off the WinLink and send an email to my Posterous account, which then sends it to my blog post and sends it to Twitter and Facebook as well.
Okay.
So the tricky part there was to whitelist the WinLink email address for Posterous, because it's kind of how WinLink is set up. It's a little tricky there's no link to click to verify, so I took a couple attempts, but I finally got it to whitelist and allow that email address. So I was like, finally. And then, but yeah, I've done blog posts via APRS. I do the bike tour, Bike MS tour on Eastern Shore. And I was sitting there at lunchtime. I was like, let me just send an APRS blog post while I'm sitting here. And I did that from HT, and I do that from time to time at work. And then I just kind of, I wonder if I can do it through the ISS. Let's try it.
So
failed, but
that is amazing. So walk me through what the setup is to APRS through the ISS. How do you do that?
With the actual path?
Yes. Well, so you first of all have to, I guess, time it so that the paths of it, and then how do you address the APRS? How do you get that through the ISS? Your message.
Well, the path to send a message through the ISS is ARISS, and then comma, and then S-gate, and then comma, and then I just usually put a Y 2.2 on the end just to make sure it does kind of populate out. And the actual, I think if I read it correctly, the actual S-gate part of it sends it so that Find can pick it up to record it on its site. So, and then the ISS works on 145.825, and I just set that up, and I set my beacon time down to 30 seconds. Because, the pass only lasts a few minutes, and you need other people trying to also get through too, so I figure every 30 minutes I'm going to try to get that beacon through, and then at least at minimum, at least get a position location posted, and if I can squeeze a message in there, too, then I try to do that too, and I've gotten actual other hams have sent me messages during the passes. I don't know if they just saw me from my beacon, or they saw my blog post that I was going to try to be on this pass, and so, so every now and then I will get a message, I say, oh, cool, but usually trying to type on that key, kind of respond. It doesn't always work that way. So
it's like old school SMS, right? You're having to click the button 3 times to make it say.
It's kind of okay, I'll just save that for the next pass. Try to reply to them hey, I got your message on that previous pass. So
that is truly amazing. When I saw that tweet, I about fell out of my chair. I was like, that's historic. There's something about this tweet that's historic.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to do that, and I just kind of, like I said, just adds more to the fun of the APRS, because I always using it. It's always running somewhere on my computer or the HT, the BlackBerry. It's running somewhere. I got APRS running all the time. So, and then to work the ISS, I just kind of added another level to the fun and enjoyment of it. And my next step is to try to make a little bit longer blog post. I haven't been successful yet, but the one line just kind of wet my appetite. I got to do more. I got to push that envelope. How much I do.
Well, you're definitely pushing the envelope. So if 73s, people with 73s can send you APRS messages from the site. So if they do like a I think a D or a DM in the status bar space your call sign, they can send you a message from the website to APRS. But do you use like a suffix or anything after your call sign, or can they just send it to N4 or TRQ?
So yeah, I have my base calls running on my laptop here in the apartment. I did have an iGate set up, but with my D700, which was also spawned my RR feed, and but they had a little problem. I had to get it repaired, and then once I got it repaired, I didn't set the iGate back up. I just put it in the vehicle and started using it in the vehicle, working the ISS now. So I got to have another radio to set my iGate back up, but we have my base call here at the apartment. That's always running on APRS plus SA, which is that program I use here. And then I have my my -7 is the HT, -9 is the D700, and I use 15 for when I'm running strictly on the laptop using the. I've been playing around with the APRS IS32 program, so I got it on a thumb drive. So whichever computer I just happen to be using at work, I use to run that at work and whatever. So one of those three suffixes on the base call, they'll get through. Plus, along with the help of Leroy's script, I get a text message that I got a message. So I'm like, oh, I got a message on APRS. So I get notifications that way too. So.
Well, since you're such a power user of 73s and APRS, I've been trying to think of a better way, so you don't have to know everyone's suffixes on those calls, like how to get a message to them. Mm-hmm. Do you think it'd be better to have just let people send to the call sign itself, and then let it find either the most recent suffix activity, which I can do, or just have it send to all suffix addresses on the profile? Which way do you think would work best?
I think if it can be done using the most recent SSID that was received, that will keep the air traffic down rather than trying to send it out to all. Because I'm not sure. Again, one of my to-do list is kind of better understand the APRS protocol as a whole. And I've kind of learned a little bit how it operates using the LENS program, this new API program I'm messing with, because I've noticed when I was trying to send messages to 73s using it, I noticed, since it doesn't get an app from 73s, if I sent one message and another message behind it, the second message would never send because it never got the app for the first message. And I found out that's how the protocol is supposed to work. I was like, oh, because APRS SA works differently. Yeah. I can put messages back to back, and regardless whether the first message got an app, it'll still send the other messages, but then I learned uncheck the necessary requiring act, and then that will work. I said, okay, so I said, I need to learn more about APRS. Well, I can these little nuances. So
you and me both, because 73s, to do what we do, we have to use all three APIs that I'm aware of. So we use FindU, we use OpenAPRS, and we use APRS.fi. Mm-hmm. So we don't ACK. And that's only because I haven't figured out how to ACK. With all those various APIs, we use them differently for whether we're receiving or polling messages or sending messages or doing the map, on your profile grid. Mm-hmm. And on the profile grid, we do use APRS.fi, and we send them all of your SSIDs that you've got configured in your profile. And mm-hmm. They tell us, they have an API for that, and they tell us back who has the most recent, or all of the last messages on each, and then we figure out who has the most recent one, and then that's the map we show. So I think that's the same technique I would use for sending the messages from 73s. That would be pretty easy to do.
Yeah, because that way you're just sending it to specifically that one versus kind of, sending out multiple messages, and I'm sure in the more populated areas that will kind of cause a little extra arc congestion where you just send it to that one, and so.
Yeah, so I think I'll still let you specify an SSID if you want, but if you just do a N4 TRQ, I think what I'll do is I'll just find the most recent one.
Okay.
Or do you think that's a downside? Because maybe someone might want to specifically do the root kind of. I'm sort of thinking this through.
But give the user a choice whether they want to send it to all SSIDs, or if I'll just go to the most recent one, or just use strictly the base call.
Yeah. So we've got some homework there, but it's interesting to see just how modern. When I look at all the social media services like Twitter and like Latitude, like you mentioned, like Foursquare, they're just starting to do things that hams have been able to do for a decade now, like with
Yep.
APRS. So it's interesting to me that hams, I think, really were the first social network,
Yep.
so to speak.
Because APRS has been here a long while, so we've been already, peeking in our position, checking in here, checking in there.
Yeah, and just try to tweet from the ISS with your cell phone, right?
Yeah. I don't think that'll quite work, but yeah.
You can't do that. So yeah, we've got a leg up on the rest of the social network, and
Yep.
and people like you keep pushing the limits, of this technology, which I think makes it better. We keep seeing new ways, new things to do with decade old, technology, and with the GPRS location aspects of APRS positioning.
Yeah.
I think we're in a brave new world of what we can do with that technology.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's just good to see. You just try to look into little things to see what can be, done with APRS and just to make it more than just, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And that's why I like try to send messages through and try to move blog posts. And, in fact, that's how I kind of caught Lynn's attention because he saw me doing a blog post using APRS IS-32. He was like, that's kind of cool. And then he started showing, giving the link to my blog so he could see it. And so, but I was just, that's one of the little things I do. I said, let me send a little blog post. How do I do it by APRS?
Well, Arthur, it's been a joy having you on HamBrief, and thank you. It's a joy having you on 73s, and just trying to keep up with you is a feat of its own. So thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll have to get you back on later and see what else you've been up to since this conversation.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, I enjoyed this very much.
Cool. Well, 73s, Arthur. We'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
All righty.